You are listening to Missed Apex Podcast. We live F1. Welcome to Missed Apex Podcast. It's the first listener forum. I'm your host, Richard Reddy, but my friends call me Spanners, so let's be friends. Welcome to our first ever forum of listeners from a range of fan bases. These 7 brave listeners are each representing a different fan base, and I am going to attack their team and put their fandom on trial. And then I will explore what makes each of them a fan of that team. Then I'm going to pit them against each other on a range of topics. And then finally, I'm going to test their knowledge with a brutal elimination round quiz, and the survivors will then play a game of closest to. Now, it's more than a call-in, but it's less than making them all learn podcasting. So I have set some interactive rules to minimize the chaos and to keep the flow going. And unlike the main show, I will be doing a full edit to save them if required. Unlike the panel, who I don't edit, no matter how bad their pub analogies are or how inappropriate and Danish they are. So we have representatives from McLaren, Aston Martin, Haas, Ferrari, Williams, Red Bull, and Sauber's fan bases. I'm really sorry, I couldn't find a single Alpine fan. The Mercedes fan that was meant to turn up crashed into himself and couldn't make it, and I consider Alpha Tauri to be Red Bull B, more or less. Okay, so I will remind you we're an independent podcast produced in the podcasting shed with the kind permission of our better halves. We aim to bring you a race review before your Monday morning commute. We might be wrong, but we're first. But if we're wrong this time, it's the listener's fault. Yeah, remember they're also representing everybody listening. So I've been really excited about doing this. I love having the patron call-ins when we do it, and we're definitely going to expand that. But to be clear, if it's rubbish, it's not my fault. When people forget to unmute, when they and everywhere, and when they say factually incorrect things, that's their fault. I would never do that. I thoroughly research. I don't just say whatever's on my mind and then wait for a kindly old American to correct me. All right, let's head straight into battle. We have with us, joining us, let's see, who's our first victim? Our first volunteer. Okay, we have in the shed a Finn from Finland. We have Tero joining us. Hello, Tero.
Hello. And joining you from Jyväskylä, Finland, you refused to try to pronounce the name of the location.
No, I didn't. I got it.
I'm a little bit offended.
I got it exactly right. So it was pseudovascular Finland. We're fine.
Yes, roughly around the edges. The home of the best ever ski jumper in the history of the sports. Go Google. And then also the home of the Finnish rally championship, World Rally Championship run that the Rally Finland.
Okay, so you like a bit of rally, you like cars skidding wildly out of control, so it's fitting then that you are representing Ferrari.
Yeah, and that's to be blamed. I'm blaming Mika Salo for that. You have to always go for the underdog. Have been rooting for Salo, and that's then the 1999. That's when the Ferrari connection happened, and I ended up with my paper thin fandom of Ferrari.
Yeah. If you're going to support the underdog, nothing screams underdog like the most successful F1 team in history with unprecedented
Absolutely.
funding and prize money from the FIA. I put it to you that Ferrari is the most overrated team in Formula One, has done the least with the resources available to it, and is leaning on the history of titles back when they were racing around hay bales. What say you, Tero?
You wouldn't be completely wrong with those.
That's not a good defense.
Then you're forgetting that if we would drop actually Ferrari from the early history of the sports, would it be actually that we would have the sport as it is now? Probably not. So that's my take on this one.
Okay. And thank you for bravely stepping forward and supporting Ferrari. We appreciate that. I think we're going to come a bit closer to home now, and we are joined representing McLaren. We've got Julie joining us. Hello, Julie. Sorry to surprise you there. Joining us from the UK.
Hey there. Yeah. I'm from Cheshire. That's where I live at the moment, quite near Alton Park, which is a racing circuit in the UK. Originally from the Back and Beyond in West Cumbria, quite near where the rally, Malcolm Wilson rally cars are built and made and engineered. So a bit of a motorsport heritage.
So can I just translate that to anyone not listening? She is from the north. She's from beyond the wall. And you are representing McLaren for us today. Why are you attracted to the papaya rocket ships?
Obviously, it's the colour because I'm a girl, so we orientate everything around colours, don't we? But no, not at all. They've been going for a lot longer than I have, and I'm so impressed that given they have had two podiums in the last 13 years or 12 years, something like that, they still have won 20% of all the races that they've entered. They're a bit of a sleeping giant, and I think they're about to reawaken.
I mean, they've had a really long slumber. That's a slumbering, probably under anaesthetic giant. So once Lewis Hamilton stopped carrying the team and they started going backwards, it was around 2013, wasn't it, where they suddenly started stopping getting into Q3, and you suddenly go, this is a blip. Yeah, of course it's a blip. It's a blip. And then they don't do well in the Mercedes engineering, in the hybrids. They get the Honda, and it's a disaster. And even at the start of this season, you think, oh my goodness, they've blown it again.
Yep, absolutely. Although they've made a phenomenal comeback so far this year.
Okay, now here's my attack.
And I blame Perez and Magnussen
for
for the failures in the teens of this year.
Oh no. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, that's set us off on a very bad foot. I think Perez fans have suffered enough, and I don't think we needed that stray kicking. But as I'm doing with everybody, all right, I'm going to attack your team now. Okay, I'm going to attack your team. The McLaren fan base is all getting their hopes up for 2024. You're all deluded. It's just because you brought your B spec in, and you're now basically fighting bums because everybody else is concentrating on updates for next season. And you're celebrating, thinking you're the second best car.
Ooh. You might have a point there.
Oh, no. Guys, you've got to argue back. That's the game. What gives you most hope for 2024?
Oscar Piastri, to be fair. Bit of a phenomenon so far. Last couple of races. I think he might be the ace up our sleeve. Okay,
and good. And let's hope that's definitely not a Rosberg Hamilton style disaster that's cooking for you next season. Okay, thank you for coming in representing McLaren. Up next, we have Mike, who is a magician from Wokingham. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Spanners. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. You can even move your microphone away because you've got such a strong voice.
Powerful voice.
Yeah, for talking to audiences. So you're a real magician. You're a real-life magician.
Yeah, but who cares about that? Let's go on to Alfa Romeo.
No, I've got more. The rest of the questions will be magician-based. So I'm going to ask you three things, and you tell me whether they're real magic or just some sort of weird trick. Okay? Yeah?
Ooh, yeah.
So sawing a lady in half, real magic where you dismember a person and then put them back together, or some kind of illusion?
Illusion.
That one's an illusion. Okay. Where you make a rabbit magically appear from a hat, is that real magic, or was the rabbit there all along?
I can't. The magic circle would throw me out if I gave it away. But
it's some kind of trick. It's not like supernatural. Okay.
No.
And last one. Team principals making out that pay drivers are genuinely there for skill, and it's just a coincidence that there's money. Is that real magic or an illusion?
That's just fact. It's just fact. There can be no argument about it. You all hate pay drivers.
They just happen to be rich. Okay, so Alfa Romeo, and you are staunchly determined that you're not referring to Sauber.
Oh, I don't even know who Sauber are. No, Alfa Romeo, fantastic team, great history, all the way back to 1950. I'm sure you know, as a Formula One expert, that the very first official Formula One World Championship race was held at Silverstone in 1950. It was won by Alfa Romeo. They also came second and third and won the championship that year.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me.
They also won the championship in 1951.
Yeah.
And Fangio was driving for them, the GOAT Fangio. He's driven for Alfa Romeo.
I have this argument all the time, Mike. Do you really think Fangio was the GOAT? We plonk Fangio. If we could get him into a modern Alfa Romeo, would he be up there?
Yes.
I don't agree.
Well, if you put one of the modern drivers in Fangio's car, they'd all go, "Oh, there's no halo. Oh, I might get hurt." They wouldn't dare drive it. But he got in one of theirs. He would just
he'd pin it.
Brilliant. Anyway, it's not all about Fangio. Don't forget Luigi Fagioli, another very famous.
I was talking about him today.
Driver. He drove for Alfa Romeo in 1951, and he is the oldest Formula One driver of all time. He won a Grand Prix at the age of 53.
Which I think completely backs up your point that the drivers from that era could just waltz in and win in the modern F1. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's 53-year-olds queuing up to enter Formula One.
But it's not the one of the 1950s. I mean, look at the Qatar Grand Prix a few days ago. Only 3 teams managed to get 2 drivers in the points, and that was Red Bull, who obviously cheated, and McLaren, and you know what McLaren are like. I mean, Julie just slagged them off basically and said she doesn't really like them anymore.
It was a weak defence. She was just like, "Yeah, you're right. There's nothing."
Yeah, but Alfa Romeo, they were 8th and 9th, double point scoring. I mean, everyone goes about how great Liam Lawson is, but bloody hell, I mean, Alfa Romeo are thrashing.
All right. Here we go then. Here we go. Here's my attack. Okay, they are not even a real team. It's a paper thin sponsorship of the Sauber outfit, and they're doomed, Mike. They're gone. They're no longer for F1. They're out the door. You are defending a shadow.
Well, you could say that, but you've missed one very important point.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Do you remember Silverstone last year?
Of course.
Zhou Guanyu at the start, amazing crash, upside down across the gravel. Car flew in the air, came down between the tyre barrier and the catch fencing. And I know we don't like to talk about it, but everyone loves a crash, don't they? A crash when the driver's not hurt, but it's spectacular. And there have been very few good crashes recently. Alfa Romeo provided the one good crash we've had in the last 2 or 3 years, and I think they should be rewarded for that. I think that was fantastic.
No one's condoning that, but it is true.
Fireball anymore?
Yeah. Well, look, this is it. I mean, as much as Tero, what are you saying there?
Yeah. Anybody remember that fireball anymore?
The Grosjean.
That wasn't provided by Alfa Romeo, so.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that was a much better crash. And as much as I try to explain the safety side and, all this kind of stuff to my boy, whenever there's a crash, he does kind of perk his attention up. And even my wife runs in to watch a crash. So there are people out there who want to watch a crash, but thankfully the crashes are much safer now.
But did you know that Alfa Romeo made the most successful Formula One car of all time?
That's not true.
It is true. The Brabham... I wrote it down somewhere. Brabham B46B, the fan car.
Yeah.
It only did 1 Grand Prix, and it won that Grand Prix, and it never raced again because it won so easily, and it was banned and removed from racing. And that car, the engine in it was an Alfa Romeo. It had 100% success record. It did 1 Grand Prix. It won that Grand Prix. No other car ever made before or after will ever beat that record. So Alfa Romeo helped make the most successful Formula One car of all time.
I think Mike has done research on his team, and that is not in the spirit of this listener forum. So -2 points. I don't know what the point system is yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, let's go across to America land. We have got Rolando, who is shilling for Haas for us today. Be honest, is it just because you're in America and you feel like I'd best defend the Americans?
I mean, yeah, America #1. I mean, I got, the listeners can't hear it, but I got my Air Force One hat for this event.
Right.
That's as close as I get to Haas. And I mean, how could you not root for Haas? You just never know if they're going to finish a race. That's the fun of rooting for Haas. You know,
yeah. So it's like just a real low standard, and if you get anything, it's massively rewarding.
Yeah, exactly. I think you guys talked about it in one of the last two pods, right? If you're mid and you do well, you're a hero. If you don't, then nobody listens. But if you're back of the grid, nobody cares.
Yeah.
So if you do something great, then you're the next champion, right? If you crash, then you go, oh yeah, I got my winnings.
Yeah, and that's
the bets that I made.
That's why I'm glad that my children aren't particularly talented or intelligent, because like they get a B and it's woohoo, we are going for cake. We're going for cake and tacos. The kids got a B. Hasn't happened for a while though, I'll be honest. Haas though, come on. What is it that can you really get excited on an F1 weekend and go, man, I hope that Haas deliver this week?
Yes and no, right? So you get the little odd ones where, like, we had the sprint race where luck worked out for Mag and he won that pole, I think, and he started from pole. I don't remember where he finished, but it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't pole, Rolando. It wasn't.
It wasn't?
He didn't finish in pole position. He started, but he didn't like...
Started, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Started in pole.
I was disappointed, actually, because Magnussen said, I'm going to kick my elbows out, I'm going to put spikes on my wheels, and I'm going to hit people with a baseball bat. But in the end, he was quite sensible when he decided not to lose as little time as possible.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I was disappointed.
Yeah, well, I forgot the original question as far as, am I defending?
No. So now I'm going to attack. I'm going to attack you. Okay, here we go. And please, like, don't go. No, it's a good point. They suck, because that's not how this works. Okay, here we go. Haas had help from Ferrari. They had pretty much Ferrari people go in there, rip the Ferrari badge off, put the Haas badge on, and then go away again. They had resources. They came in with a fanfare. They're representing the American fan base. It's hard to say that anything since 2016. It's hard to say it has been anything other than a disappointment. They have completely failed to join the midfield.
I would argue that that's just a keen American economics.
Right.
Why develop, something that's already been made? You could just hire out the talent that exists in Europe. And you got, I think they design out of some group out of Italy, right? Not just Ferrari for the engine, but for the chassis. So
sorry. What did you say? The what? The chassis?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that how Americans say
it? Chassis in Spanish.
Okay.
I don't know how you guys say
chassis.
Chassis. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but
that's how we say it in Oklahoma.
Haas came in with what I've always wanted in F1 teams. Really, is start with a customer team. So I'd love teams to be able to come in and like buy nearly a complete car from like 2 years ago, go racing, get used to the paddock, and then develop.
Right. Well, and I don't know exactly what the background for or the desire to start this team for Gunther was, but if you have nothing to start with and all you have is the skeleton that you won at an auction for the previous team, I mean, what better way to start? You want to bring in some ideally new talent, which we saw 2 years ago, which didn't quite work out, but I don't know if it's a good thing, but it's a good place for some of the more favorite drivers that have nowhere else to go.
So, career graveyard. Okay, that's not a good defense either. Okay, this is great fun. I get to be all mean, and I can pretend that I'm just doing it for the show. So, in that case, let's go to Aston Martin next. So, defending Aston Martin from Canada, we've got Scott joining us. Hello, Scott. Whereabouts in Canada?
Hi, Spanners. I'm in Southern Ontario, where about a third of all Canadians live.
Right.
In about it's about a 500-kilometer length, probably smaller than Great Britain, and about all third Canadians live there, even though Canada's the size of the second biggest country in the world.
You all huddle for warmth in one little corner. So, Scott, you in our Patreon forum, you're the Lance Stroll fan as well as being an Aston Martin fan, and in probably hundreds of interactions, because we have loads of interactions in our Patreon forum, you've agreed with me one time, and I think it might have been about what day it was. But apart from that, I like arguing with you because I find myself on the opposite side of every view you have, especially Lance Stroll.
So what I'll say is that in the Patreon forum, when I speak up, it's usually because I disagree with things. So
Yes,
I
there
just
you
am
go.
quiet
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with everything.
Yeah, if you agree,
so
you don't
why
need
I
to
seem
say
very
anything.
disagreeable there.
Yeah, if you agree, you don't need to pipe up with "I agree." I'm like that as well. I just wait till I'm outraged and then I start tweeting. Okay, why do you like Aston Martin?
I've always liked their driver spanners, and this is even before Lance Stroll. I'm a big Sergio Perez guy. I was for a while. Esteban Ocon, I'm a big fan of him now.
Oh, boo.
Sebastian Vettel, a big
Boo.
Sebastian Vettel guy. I like Fernando. Maybe he's not as much as other people I said, but
I
Fernando's...
like Fernando and I dislike him, so I'm definitely an Alonso fan. But like, if something goes wrong for him, I find myself going, I don't know why. I like him, and I understand that liking him is wrong.
Yes, I'm sort of in this sort of in the same boat. But basically, Aston Martin for me has just been on a remarkable string of picking up drivers that I like. So I'm going to continue to support them until they stop doing that.
Okay. So, of course, the charge is that Aston Martin are there as a skeleton, a sham of a team. They're purely for the benefit of the owner's son. And I would guess, and people would argue, that if Lance Stroll walks away, Lawrence Stroll will pay lip service to it, but also walk away. And that's no real way for a F1 team to go about their business.
So that would be an understandable opinion maybe when Lawrence Stroll bought the team back in 2018. But what's happened since then is F1 has started really making money, and the teams have started really making money. So even if Lance Stroll walks away from this, it's still a very good business venture for Lawrence Stroll, and he's not going to walk away. He's still upgrading the facilities. I think he's with the team for good now until it becomes a bad business venture, because he's still a businessman at heart.
What if it's like, it's making money now, we can ditch Lance? But he did say they do seem to be setting him targets, and he seems to be not hitting them, and that might be the cause of genuine frustration now.
He's been really bad the second half of this year. Even as a Lance Stroll fan, I can't defend how bad he's been the second half of this year. It's been quite bad. It's been far worse.
We're talking to a Perez
before.
fan as well, so like we're the same. We're the same brother. We feel it. That's actually a decent defense of Aston Martin. Not bad at all, Scott. Who have we got left introduced? Okay, so 2 more gladiators, and then as we move into the next phase, it will be much more getting everybody to yell at each other and have an argument. Okay, we have to go to Pete now, because Pete is holding a cat, and a cat on my stream in the shed is always welcome. Pete, you are joining us from America?
Yes, America land, North Carolina.
North Carolina, and now you have to tell us all about the cat. In fact, the rest of the segment is cat related.
Yeah, so we have a farm, and so I had my tractor on the back of my truck. So, like a 30-foot long situation.
Yep.
And I saw this tiny little black thing in the middle of the road, and
it's a rescue.
It was the cat, and it was a day old, still had the umbilical cord on. We bottle fed her, and it was quite an experience. I've bottle fed cows before, but never a cat.
Wait a minute, right? I'm not falling for this, right? Because Scott is here to defend the new Death Star, which is Red Bull. And as we know, everything Red Bull does is awful, and they cheat and they spend too much money. And who do they send? Who do they send as their agent of doom? They send Pete with his cat that he rescued from the ground. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it for a second, Pete. But tell me, why are you a Red Bull fan?
So a couple of reasons. I would say the reason that I became a Red Bull fan, the reason I got into Formula One was a friend of mine. He's involved with some of Red Bull's other adventure sport type things, and he started inviting me to like Red Bull kind of big functions and whatnot. We had some of them come to some of our fundraisers. They were all like a blast to hang out with, and I started watching Formula One around Seb. And Seb is just the greatest driver, a second greatest driver after Schumacher.
This is going downhill fast.
Driven. And so I just fell in love with Red Bull.
Oh my goodness! So I invite you on, and we're talking about cats, and I'm liking your cat. And then the next thing you say is Vettel's the greatest of all time behind Michael Schumacher. Does it ever drive you mad how quickly the night can change? My goodness. All right. So I will put this to you then, Pete. They are ruthless, which is actually something I really admire about them. Even though I see them definitely see them as the Death Star now, and the current Death Star, and as sporting rivals. But I think it's fair to say they do come across very, very savage against their opponents. Sometimes to the point where you go, "Oh, that's making everything seem a bit mean." They definitely cheat out loud. They love a good cheat. They're going for the cheat. They're like Italian forwards looking to get fouled in the box, and they have benefited from spending too much money on cake.
Okay, 3 things.
Okay,
1, maybe 3. I said 3 because that's what you should always do. But
yeah,
1, they don't cheat, and I think that the perfect example of this is 2 races ago where they, with that Sergio Perez charade. The greatest move. I love that move. How ridiculous that was and how brilliant that was, right? They find these little details and then they exploit the detail.
Explain the incident for us quickly.
I'm sorry?
Explain quickly what happened.
Oh, they so Sergio gained a penalty and was retiring the car. And so instead of take the penalty on the grid in the next race, they fixed the car and sent him out 5 laps behind and served the penalty then.
Right.
And that sort of innovative nonsense.
Innovative.
I love.
Sorry, I was confused because when you said, the thing that they did that was, pushing the boundaries of cheating, I didn't know whether you meant that, the blocking 3 people during qualifying, the rebuilding of a chassis at the last Grand Prix that you're not allowed to do, the constant Verstappen maneuvers. You cannot deny there is a perception from the outside that they kind of have the steward's room in their pocket.
I mean, I don't think, I'm sure that there is that perception. And I think that all of those people are very wrong. They're entitled to be wrong, but they are wrong. And it's the same thing when Mercedes was dominant. Mercedes got so many favorable, things that go for them. And you notice them because they're dominant, right? So you don't care if a favorable call is made to Haas. I'm sorry, Haas fan. But you don't care about that because they're sort of irrelevant. But when it's the dominant, when it's the juggernaut, then everybody gets really mad about it. Everybody's paying attention to it. So I don't think that they're getting more favorable calls. I just think that people are paying attention.
Rolando, if you want to yell at him for that, that's fine. We're getting more interactive here as we get into the show. No one cares if Haas cheat. So why don't they cheat more?
Well, it's because, like he said, they pay attention to Red Bull. Maybe they do cheat. We don't know because the BBC won't give us the airtime.
That's the one.
Problem.
They're suppressing you. The man is suppressing you, and maybe or they try their best to cheat, but they're just not as good at it as Red Bull.
They don't have the extra income to have people sit there and read through every single line of the rules so that they can cheat later in the season.
I have to say though,
Gene was pretty good at cheating though.
That's true.
Okay. No. It's allegedly there's going to be a lot of beeps. There's going to be a lot of beeps. Okay. And the last gladiator we have here is actually for one of my favourite teams, and it is Stuart joining us from a cruise liner in parts unknown.
No. In the middle of lovely Tunbridge Wells, where Jota, the endurance team, are based, and near Brands Hatch, which was another location of a wonderful victory for Williams. The days of Red 5.
Okay, and so you're representing Williams, probably my favourite team of all time as well.
Maybe the best for last, right?
Okay, so Stuart, I've met you several times now because you've come to a lot of our karting events, and you're a little bit like our medical car because you just follow us around from the back and just make sure everyone's okay.
I'm thoughtful like that, right?
And
it's the strongest. It's the strongest position, just keeping everyone up. Just everyone up.
I love it. And is it true that you control all shipping in the world?
No.
Sure.
I control everything in the world.
I was going to say, that's what someone who controlled all F1 shipping would say. They would, all shipping. They would deny it. All the evil ones do. So, Williams, as if I need you to explain, why do you love the best team that's ever been in F1?
Well, it's a bit like supporting England or the England football team or just being patriotic. It's 30 years apart because it's been a while, but they represent the fundamental values of Formula One. They are the garagistas. They are the ones that have lasted out against that big bad Death Star of Ferrari. They have the history, the wins. They had Red 5. They had
the real Red 5. The real Red 5.
Real Red 5.
Not Vettel. Aston.
God,
these people saying Vettel's the best, but no, the real Red 5. Go on, sorry.
Exactly. They had Hill, beating Schumacher
twice.
And lest we forget 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, Maldonado on the top step.
How did that feel?
Any team that can do that's to me brilliant.
So as a Williams fan,
also as a Finn, can't avoid mentioning that they had Keke Rosberg. So
yes, they did.
Yes, and the magnificent pole lap in Silverstone quali back in the day when it went for the championship. So,
but they had Rosberg who then begot his son, who and even though he was given the opportunity in a Williams to get into Formula One, that's nothing like your father helping you out. And Alan Jones, let's get the whole world in there. But they're just because they're. And look, we have the GOAT, Latifi, right? It's Britain, it's Formula One being charitable to the rest of the world and still winning.
So I get so many messages where they go, "Oh, Brit bias, Brit." We get so much like crap just for being like in Britain, and then here's you going, "I support Williams because they're British."
I can't help being British.
Britain. So yeah, look, a lot of countries are like that. Like America gets a lot of flack for being like America, but we are a little bit like Britain. It's a good sporting default, and Williams has certainly given us a lot to be proud of. But deep breath, and this is hurting me as much as it's hurting you. Williams are from a different era of Formula One. They never adapted their garagista model and sorted the finances in order to keep up with the juggernauts works teams in modern Formula One. James Vowles has gone in there and said everything is like it was 20 years ago. It's a massive shame what has happened to Williams. The legacy has been allowed to dribble and bleed away on the altar of ultimately surviving and getting money in. Can I remind you that Sorokin and Stroll was their driver lineup at one point? And I say, oh God, please know that I don't mean this. They lack the resources or mentality to ever return to the top.
Well, you're wrong, basically. They have principles. They didn't sell out to the Bahraini pension fund or royal family or whatever like McLaren did. They remained true to themselves, even though part of it's American money under Doralton. They had to take money from other drivers just because we're charitable. It's our care in the community operation. It's soft power. It's what Britain does best, right? Used to do. And they represent what is best in Formula One.
Oh dear. Emails to Stuart at ships.com. Okay, guys, that was actually a lot of fun talking to you guys. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to set some questions. I'll put them to one of our listener expert fans here. Look, I called you experts. Don't worry, I'm not either. So I'll put something to one of you. But if anybody has something to come in at, to argue with them, to tell them why they're wrong, armchair experts. Chuck it into the chat here in our video call, and I'll bring you in to then yell at each other. Okay, let's go. All right, I'm going to ask our team, our fans here, what constitutes success in general and for 2024. Like Rolando said, I think you said it best, actually, to be fair, Rolando, our Haas person. You basically said the bar is so low for Haas that anything good happening at all is enough to get an endorphin hit. But let's be truly honest here. For next season, what truly constitutes success for Haas?
I think if Haas could finish in the points every race, right? Whether it's 1 point or realistically, let's say, 5 points. Can you get 5 points? I can't remember the point system, but anywhere between 1 and 10 really is good. I feel like that'd be a realistic success. I think they finished 8th in 2022. I think they're going to finish maybe 9th this season. So if they could get up, let's say improve on that. Let's get up to 6th place. I think that would be true success. But will we get there? I don't know. That's me dreaming, hoping for my team to win.
Okay, panel. Is he damning Haas with faint praise? Would 6th represent success? Who can I hear in the background?
That's Mike, not a true fan.
Here you go. I mean, hang on, let me do University Challenge style. Mike defending Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to support a team, you've got to support them. I mean, I truly believe Alfa Romeo will win the championship next year. I mean, all the evidence is there. And, Rolando's a great guy, but saying, Haas might get 6th or something, that's a bit feeble. Alfa Romeo, they're going to win. I mean, there is facts to prove this. Japanese Grand Prix, they scored 0 points, Alfa Romeo. Qatar Grand Prix, they scored 6 points. That is an infinity % increase.
All right.
And if that trend continues, then by the end of 2024, they will have scored at least infinity points.
See, actually,
that will in the end count towards Audi's toll of points in the long run. So
yeah, Mike, you're on weak ground there.
I don't accept Audi. No, I thought Audi had given up, like Andretti.
Oh, they might have done.
No hopeless. It's not going to happen.
Okay, Julie, you think that Rolando is in a happy dream?
Yeah, I don't really want to wake him from that. It sounds like blissful. It sounds like one of those things that will never ever happen, like you winning millions of pounds or finding a rainbow in a pot of gold. He's very much kind of representing that. I think we should all be quite quiet.
Think of the teams that they'll have to build. So 6th, you've got to beat 3 teams. So you can beat Williams, you can beat Sauber, which it will be next season, and what's the other team that you're going to beat then to get up there to 6th place?
AlphaTauri.
But AlphaTauri are going to be ripping off Red Bull's parts next season as well. So actually, I think 6th is it's ambitious.
Hey, I mean, I know that it's a common thing to make fun of us Americans, but we have the American dream, and the American dream is to always stay hopeful but realistic, right? So it's easy for me to say, "Oh, we're gonna go win number 1 like Alfa Romeo," but I mean, unless Andretti comes in and gives them some money, which he might, you never know. Maybe he'll lend us some drivers. We are just pursuing that same sort of indie style. You just never know what we're going to do, right? We like to keep it in the show.
Yeah.
We might win, we might not.
I like that American attitude. There's the whole, there's a bit of a cliche that, if there's a road cleaner, a street sweeper in America, and they see a guy pull up in a flashy Mercedes, and he gets out and he's in a suit and he's got gold and watches and he's got drip, I think the kids call it now. They go, right, in 5 years' time, that's going to be me. But in Britain, if there's, that same guy and he sees the guy pull out of the Mercedes, the Brit will look at him and go, turnip, idiot, hate him. But I love it. I love the American dream. Although that particular American dream is one that you probably won't realise. Stuart, you wanted to come in and yell at Mike for his Alfa Romeo delusions.
Well, I think Alfa Romeo can't even work out how to open the carton of the milk jug of the Rousing brothers. So, how are they expected to win the world championship? They're being taken for, was it 5 million for just to stick their logo on someone else's car, which is funded by a milk marketing man.
So let's move on in this sham to Ferrari, who have Ferrari threatened us with a good time last season briefly before Ferrarying very, very hard, and they seem to have completely given up on this season. Be realistic. What constitutes success for Ferrari next season?
Exactly, because they seem to have given up for this season. They're focusing on the next one. So
you believe this?
Nothing short of challenging for at least the not the drivers, but the constructors' championship. Nothing less than that will count as success for Ferrari.
Sixth place,
at
maybe.
this point,
Sixth place.
it's really like Ferrari. That's a team who really can play the jazz of F1. So you have to know the rules inside out. Just like a jazz musician, you have to know the rules inside out so that you can subtly break and bend the rules to make your performance the best. That's what they are shown to be capable of.
Jazz.
Allegedly.
Oh my god, Jazz! This is up there with Matt's pub analogy from the race
Matt
review.
To be around, but he's not.
No,
so
you guys are all collectively Matt. I've replaced Matt with all of you guys. Stuart, look at this. You've got Tero here trying to say that they will actually challenge for a world championship. Just whenever they get close, it always something fizzles out. I think they've had a car to win more world championships than they have. Stuart.
So Taro, you're talking about Ferrari knowing all the rules and being so good at understanding the game. How do you explain their strategy? If they know all the rules and they know how it works, there is no excuse for the recent strategy calls. They've got no hope. Absolutely no.
I'm talking about the game of engineering.
No, it's a whole package. It's a whole package. If they can't work out the simple bits about doing a race, how can they work out the small widget bits? Oh no!
Don't you remember what Enzo himself said, that it's the aero is for the people who can't build engines.
So Tero, I agree with your analogy of Ferrari being like jazz, because jazz is big on improvisation, and they do improvise their strategies on the fly.
They're inventing. They're always inventing,
unless there's some serious organizational changes made.
Supportive, yeah.
I'm not sure that was supportive. Was that supportive?
Yes, I take it as a support. Yes.
No, he's definitely shaking his head.
No, it's better to have your strategies planned out ahead of time. It's not a good thing to improvise.
And we've got Pete.
Here's some semi-support for Ferrari, because I like Ferrari. I like Mick or his father Michael, and you know, but I don't think that Ferrari is going to really challenge until they get an understanding of tires. It just seems that they never understand what their tires are doing, and I really hope that they figure it out, because I would like to see Ferrari fighting Red Bull again. That was the best part of last year, and it's going to be really boring if Red Bull is doing a repeat of this year. And also Sainz is the most handsome man on the grid. So,
I mean this.
Absolutely. So and with a rallying heritage.
Do you know what? When something like that comes up, and like my instant thing was like, no, I've got a counter to that. I was like, no, Spanner, stop. No, don't come in with a counter. You can agree or disagree, but don't nominate someone else. That can be a whole different show. But
as a Finn, you have to root for Ferrari to be up there at least by 2027-ish, when Ferrari Junior Tuukka Taponen is going to be challenging Leclerc. And by that time, Sainz is going to be on another team already. So.
Oh, hang on a minute. Rolando's coming in with, you are going to nominate the handsome driver or best looking driver. You're on mute, though.
There we go. It wouldn't go. Yeah, of course. I mean, what's F1 without a little drama, right? So F1 is basically a big soap opera, and when you turn on that channel, you see the most beautiful people acting out your favorite dramas. And Ferrari, for me, of course, is what got me into the drama. But I have to agree with my girlfriend, who loves K-Mag as the most handsome driver. So I would say category blonde handsome men. It's between Hulk and K-Mag. You know, I'll nominate them for best looking drivers on the grid.
Hulkenberg is like a Disney prince. He's annoying. He could be, yeah.
But he's so nice, you know. Like you can't. You want to hate him, but you can't. And that you know will help win races whenever looks count for your aerodynamics.
Julie reminding me there in the chat of, oh, why did K-Mag go off on Piastri? It's so clear that everyone's got an opinion on who the best looking F1 driver is. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure when that sneaked in to general F1 discussion. All right. Okay, then. Right. So we're talking about what constitutes success for your driver, for your team. And Mike Tero is saying that a championship constitutes success. And in a way, he is right that is the lowest. That's the lowest thing that would count as a good season.
Well, that's true. I mean, Ferrari have probably got the fastest car in some ways, but that just means that Leclerc gets to crash sooner. So I'm not sure that's such a great thing. I mean, what we all know. Look at the constructors, the championship standings at the moment. I mean, some people would say Red Bull are at the top, but if you sort it alphabetically, Alfa Romeo are at the top, and I think that shouldn't be discounted. In fact, there are so many teams at the moment that begin with A, Alpine, Aston Martin.
It's the toughest. Yeah, alphabetically. Yeah.
Audi and Andretti. They only want to come in because they begin with A as well. You know, that's why Williams got no chance. And I heard that actually that Mercedes are planning to rebrand as Aardvark F1 because that 2A at the beginning will obviously put them right at the front. Although Haas obviously tried that strategy with the double A, but they stupidly put it in the middle rather than at the beginning. So okay. So that didn't work. But Alfa Romeo, I mean, they're such a great team. I mean, no one. The thing is, they're never shown on the TV coverage because they're sort of in the middle or at the back. Yeah. But that means that no one hates them. They're the least hated team. I mean, everyone hates Red Bull. Everyone hates Mercedes.
Oh, Red Bull, get in on that. Get in that Red Bull.
But no one hates Alfa Romeo. No one hates them. They're lovely.
You're almost onto something here, and I think that grid order, like starting order, quali should be done by naming. So it has to be you have to name your team with a real name, but you start the race alphabetically.
That's why they can't be Sauber. That's why they cannot be Sauber. They've got to be Alfa Romeo. Exactly, Sauber will be a disaster.
Okay, so from my very low expectations of how this would go, it is going fine, apart from Mike, who I've spoken to many times. So Mike is my fault, because with the others, I didn't know what to expect, but I have no excuse for Mike. So I can only apologize and or take credit. I think we'll do that. Okay, the question is, what constitutes success for your driver? Let's go to McLaren. So, Julie, what represents success? As a McLaren fan, what makes you go, okay, this was a great season?
So that would have to be coming second in the championship. Basically, trouncing Mercedes and trouncing Ferrari.
Oh, is it? Trouncing, is it? Okay.
Trouncing. Definitely. Just by the consistency. So constantly hitting the podium. Ideally, getting a win at some point would be lovely.
But they got a win at the weekend.
Actually kind of racking up those points like by stealth.
Are you not counting Piastri's win?
Second. It's a sprint.
Yeah,
are we counting sprint wins?
I don't know. If it suits me, I would count the sprint. Okay. So because I like Piastri, I'm counting it. I think who don't I like? I like everyone. But okay, if Norris had won, I'd have gone, it's only a sprint. But it's Piastri, and the Australians have not had anything to celebrate for a while as well.
Wait.
Okay, so you're saying second. Who's going to come in on that? Pete?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the disaster, the PR disaster that's going to happen when Lando goes to Red Bull and Piastri wins a race before him. Oh, right. And I think that Lando's head is going to explode because I don't think Lando can beat Max. I just think Max is a better driver a better meat servo than Lando is. But I think that Piastri is very, very good. And I think that if McLaren, Piastri is a world championship caliber driver. Whether or not he will ever win a world championship, who knows? But I think he certainly could if given the right car.
Okay, there's the elephant in the room, Julie, which is McLaren ultimately good enough to hang on to a future superstar? You know, if that phenomenon comes in, the next Max, the next Hamilton comes in. can McLaren actually hold on to someone of that level and give them enough to stay?
Absolutely. If you judge from where they were at the beginning of the season to where they are now in terms of developments in such a short space of time, I think that they've got some really good kind of like forward projected kind of podiums amongst them. And I certainly don't agree with the Red Bull move. I refuse to believe it's going to be true.
I actually don't either.
I kind of had Norris lined up for Audi in 25.
Oh, so you think he's got to leave McLaren though? That's a step down, surely.
No. No. But if he was going to go anywhere, I would choose him to go to Andreas Seidel and follow that route.
I see.
Not to go to the Death Star of Red Bull.
Okay, so let's put this to our Red Bull guy, because Pete, honestly, I would say no driver should go to Red Bull. Like no driver should go to Red Bull. If you want to take on Verstappen somewhere else, fine, but do not take that second Red Bull seat.
So I do want to ask Julie one thing first. Julie, do you think that like running glory laps in P1 is impressive? Because I think that's essentially what McLaren is doing right now.
Yes, they're out of sync. They are out of sync. I said that, yeah.
Yeah. No, Spanners, you're right. You're right. Like 98% of the time. It's just when you talk about Sebastian Vettel that you're wrong.
A normal person should be able to accept 98%, but I am not having it. I am insulted and hurt.
But no driver should go to Red Bull while Max is there, because they will be the second driver. But that doesn't mean that they won't, because they have the best car, and drivers are not rational people. They want the best machine. And they all, if you are in Formula One, you think that you're the greatest thing that's ever happened. And so Lando is wrong about being able to beat Max, but he thinks that he could beat Max and become the number one. So whether he's right or not, he isn't. But so yes, I think that if he got the opportunity to go to Red Bull, he would, because Am I saying that Max is the only?
No. So Rolando, you've got to say what you just typed in the chat.
Based on what Pete said, is that Max is only champion because of he has the best machine and because of cheating.
I think that there would be probably, I don't know, I'd have to think about this, but there would be a couple of drivers who would be champions this year if they were in that car. Max I think Max is a world quality. I don't think that's a crazy statement. I think Max is a world class driver. I think that he is going to go down with Hamilton and Schumacher and Vettel. I was
trying to fade you down because I knew you were going to say Vettel, and I was trying to jump. I was trying to pull the fader down. I couldn't do it.
But so I think that he's a great driver. But yes, I mean, Formula One is about the team. It's about the car. It's not. If you want a drivers' championship, we should be watching IndyCar, you know. But we want the car. We want the drama, you know. Not to say that IndyCar drivers are better than Formula One drivers. They're obviously not. Formula One drivers are the best drivers, but the I don't know. I hope that makes sense.
No, I'm gonna say that is a very, very good point and a good place for us to launch off our elimination, our deadly elimination quiz. I have to say, guys, you've all been absolutely brilliant. And one thing that I love to do with the panel is make them feel infinitely replaceable. You know, I call them my light bulbs, because you can just, you know, take one out and put another one in. And it's just proved that basically anyone can do it. None of you have hit your microphones. None of you have made a weird pub analogy. And none of you have made inappropriate jokes about Fernando Alonso. So you're beating last week's panel already. Let's move on to our elimination quiz. Okay, I'm going to give each one of these heroes a question. If you get it right, you move on to the final closest to round. If you get it wrong, you are out, and you have poured shame on your entire fan base. Let's start with McLaren. So, Julie, this is for you. Are you ready? Are you pumped?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm
here we
ready.
go. Okay, so who has won the most races for McLaren?
Hamilton.
Oh, do you know what? That is an absolutely fair shout because Lewis Hamilton has had 21 victories, but the clear winner is Ayrton Senna with 35. So you are eliminated, and McLaren are officially rubbish because of you. You did this. Unlucky, Julie. Okay, so we have got Pete. Oh, no, not Pete next. Sorry, Aston Martin. That is Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
Okay, here we go. Aston Martin was Racing Point, and before that, it was Force India. Name one of the other three names that team has raced under.
Jordan, Spiker, Midland, was that the other one?
I only wanted one, but yeah, you
Okay.
absolutely nailed all three. So you're through. And actually, I just realised I need a bit of paper to mark down who made it. Scott made it. So Aston Martin are still broadly fine because of you, Scott. Okay, Haas.
And
so
in general.
we've got. And in general. We've got. You've made the case. To be fair, you've made a good case. Rolando, here we go. Haas. Who drove for Haas in their first season in F1?
Esteban Gutierrez for
Nice.
sure.
I thought yes, of course you're going to get that one.
It was Grosjean, the other driver.
It was Roman Grosjean. You're through. You're through to the next round. Okay, Ferrari. Here we go. This is actually quite technically difficult to do, by the way, guys. There's so many buttons to press, and I have to write things. Ferrari.
Oh, damn.
This is easy, Tero. I think for you. I think that for a man of your caliber, name 3 Ferrari team principals.
Mattia Binotto. Jean Todt.
You went old school.
Fred Vasseur.
Fred
for
Vasseur,
easy
current.
one.
I should have said past one, shouldn't I, to make it a bit harder. I'm surprised
Yeah,
you didn't go for
but
Franco
I'm
Lini.
bending rules here, so
Surprised you didn't go for Sandro Colombo. I might have a list of F1 team principals. In the end, that was too easy, and I've gauged that wrong. But Tero, you are through to closest to. Who have
thank
we got
you
up
for
next?
an easy one.
Yeah, you got lucky in the draw there. Okay, Stuart. Well, Williams fan, Stuart. Okay.
Yep.
As you mentioned earlier, Maldonado nicked a win in 2012. Who was the last driver before that to win a race for Williams?
Oh gosh, that would probably be Villeneuve.
You are eliminated, King
Oh,
of
God.
Ships. It was Juan Pablo Montoya, 2004.
Oh, God,
and thing
God,
is, I can forgive
God.
you because it wasn't a great season, but they
No, they got one, didn't they?
nicked a win at the end.
Yeah.
That was when Brazil, Interlagos, was
Yeah.
the final race of the season.
by
And I
1
missed that.
second.
And I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Came close a
Yeah.
couple of times.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, because 2014, isn't it? They just had that rocket ship that was many.
Yes, the rocket launches around the track. Yes.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
You had a
14 or
couple poles with
15.
Massa too in there somewhere. Yeah.
Well, Massa was going to win in Montreal and crashed right in front of me. It was so frustrating.
Of course, because you live on a ship, you can just go to any Grand Prix. You just sail to wherever the next one is.
Near a river.
All right. So I tried to give an easy one to Williams because I like Williams.
And I failed.
You failed miserably. Red Bull aren't going to get the same treatment, obviously. Okay. The Red Bull logo is 2 Red Bulls charging at each other. Which mythical creature is that design inspired by? That's not the real question, don't worry. That would be a horrible question. It was.
It's a tie.
Do you know it? If you know it, you get through twice.
Oh my goodness. So okay, so it started off as a Thai syrup, energy drink syrup
Yeah.
for Thai truck drivers, and I've had the original recipe, and it is terrifying. I could feel my heart trying to claw its way out of my chest, and I think that it's something in the kind of Thai Buddhist pantheon, but I know no more than that.
So actually, it is the mythical creature, the Krathong, which is believed to bring good fortune and protection. But I was never. That was not going to be the question, of course. Okay, so the real question is, and I'm going to see if I can trip you up. How many World Constructors Championships have Red Bull won?
Is it okay? Okay, are you counting the Abu Dhabi one?
Sir, the question is, how many World Constructors Championships have Red Bull won?
Constructors would be 6, drivers would be 7.
Oh, I wondered if I could catch you out by 2021, but you're safely through there. So that is Pete through. Okay, yes, of course, they won every Constructors' Championship from 2020 to 2013 and 2022 and 2023. Thought you might get thrown maybe by they didn't win it in 2021, or the fact they've never had a 1-2 in the driver's standings as well. Okay, so then who have we got left here? Mike. Mike, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, since rejoining F1, what is Alfa Romeo's highest championship position?
Fangio drove for Alfa Romeo since 6th. No, 8th.
Which one is it? You've just yelled 2 numbers at me. Are you Googling? You can't.
I'm not Googling. My hands are here.
He's too old. He doesn't know how to Google.
Okay. I'll go in the middle. 7th.
Unlucky. It was 6th, and it was last.
Oh, that's what I said first.
And it was last season as well.
That was my first answer.
I assumed you'd know that it was 6th in 2022, but I thought I'd catch you out by thinking like that. You could include previous incarnations, but actually 6th is the highest they've ever finished.
Oh,
yeah.
So
there you go.
I'm out.
So you're out. So in the next round, you are only going to have 10 seconds to answer this question. I want you to put it in the live chat, and then we'll talk about what you put in there. Does everybody understand the assignment? Everybody who's still in, nod at me that you understood the assignment. Okay, so you're going to type a number into the chat, and the closest to it is going to win. So you're not going to have enough time to Google this, hopefully. Okay, so is it like The Chaser? I've never watched a full episode of The Chaser, so I don't know. But Mike's been on The Chaser, so that was fun. So we all know that despite the controversy in Abu Dhabi 2021, Max Verstappen deserved to win the championship anyway because he led the most laps. How many laps did Max Verstappen lead in 2021? Go. I want it in the chat. I want your eyes on the screen. I'm going to be checking for any kind of Googling sounds or tapping. We've got some guesses coming in. I'm only going to give you 5 more seconds. If you haven't put a guess in 5 more seconds, I think Mike might be a little bit out with 99,900,000. That's too many. And that's your time. Gentlemen, the answer, let's see what people said. Rolando said 45 laps were led by Max Verstappen. That's only like 2 races worth. What are you doing? That was a crazy guess. Mike,
better than the other ones.
Yeah, Mike, you've put an answer in that is close to 10 billion. So that isn't right. You didn't win on this occasion. I'm sorry. You're out, or whatever they say on The Chaser. So we're left with Tero for Ferrari, Pete for Red Bull. Oh man, I hope Red Bull don't win. And Scott for Aston Martin. So Pete has gone in with 1,201. Scott has gone in with 1,200. And Tero has gone in with 547. The correct answer is that Max Verstappen deserved to win the 2021 World Championship anyway because he led 652 laps of the 2021 season, which makes Tero our grand champion for the first ever listener forum. Well done, Tero, and we all applaud.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
You have won. You have won the only Ferrari victory of the season. Oh no, you had Singapore. Wasn't that
forgetting.
Fun? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was inventing there for a second, wasn't I? Sorry, who was that?
If Pete beat me by going 1201, that'd be very Red Bull of him.
Yeah,
that's what I was hoping.
I saw what Pete did. You went 1200, and Pete went straight in with 1201, and that's the first thing I thought. Classic Red Bull. So what I'm going to do though, Pete, is I understand that you found a little loophole there, but what I will say is that in future patron panels, listener panels, that will no longer be allowed or tolerated.
Fair enough.
That's also so Red Bull. You do something which immediately gets countered by a rule. So.
Okay, so that was definitely the joke I was making. So that's what I did there. It was very clever. Thank you very much to Julie at McLaren, our McLaren expert. Thank you very much to Pete, our Red Bull connoisseur. Stuart defending Williams. Rolando trying his best to defend Haas. Scott playing devil's advocate at Aston Martin. Tero, our champion at Ferrari. And also, who did I miss out in all of that? Mike Stoner, gamefully employed to defend Alfa Romeo. That was actually pretty successful, and I hope that you'll give us some lovely feedback and we'll do that kind of thing again, because it was fun. Who needs Matt anyway? No, Matt will be back on Sunday. We're going to do a news show, but wherever we see you next, work hard, be kind, and have fun. This was Missed Apex Podcast.